The US government just became one of the biggest Bitcoin whales on the planet.
This is not a drill.
The Department of Justice has just confirmed its largest ever crypto seizure. We're talking about $15 billion worth of Bitcoin. That's 127,000 BTC scooped up in a single operation. Question is, what happens now? Is this the ultimate threat? A sign that the government can take your crypto whenever they want? Or is this the ultimate validation? A sign that the United States is quietly building the strategic Bitcoin reserve right before our eyes. My name is Lewis. Let's break it down. First, the crime. Because this historic seizure is tied to one of the most vicious scams in the world. It's called pig butchering. The scammer, aka the butcher, finds a victim, aka the pig, usually through a dating app or a random text message. They spend weeks, sometimes even months, building trust, building a fake relationship, aka fattening the pig. Then they introduce a can't-miss crypto investment opportunity. The victim invests a little, sees fake profits on a fake platform, and gets hooked. They invest more and more and more. Eventually, their life savings, their retirement, is all put into the scam. And then, the slaughter. The scammer vanishes, the platform goes dark, and the money is gone forever. But this wasn't just some small-time operation. Federal prosecutors allege that this was run by a man named Chen Zi. His company, the Prince Group, allegedly operated at least 10 forced labor compounds across Cambodia. People were trafficked, lured by fake job offers, then had their passports seized and were forced to work 17-hour days running these scams under the threat of torture. The indictment claims that Chen's operation was pulling in $30 million a day. This seizure is a massive blow to that network. But the fallout from this operation goes far beyond shutting down one criminal. That's because it has fundamentally changed the Bitcoin landscape. With this seizure, the US government's Bitcoin wallet has swelled to an absolutely staggering size. Before this, they held around 198,000 Bitcoin from previous seizures, like the Silk Road and from the Bitfinex hack. Now, add another 127,000 BTC to that pile and bam! The United States government now controls over 325,000 Bitcoin. At today's prices, that's worth over $36 billion. To put that into perspective, let's look at how the US government's holdings have grown. This single seizure is the largest financial forfeiture in the history of the Department of Justice. And look how they stack up against other major players. The US now holds more Bitcoin than China and the UK combined. They now control roughly 1.55% of Bitcoin's entire 21 million supply. Which brings us to the most important question. Is this an accident or is it a strategy? You see, for years, the government's policy was simple. Seize it and sell it. In fact, by selling off their Bitcoin early, the US government missed out on an estimated $17 billion in potential profits. But the policy has changed. On March 6, 2025, President Trump signed an executive order. It officially established the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. The order explicitly states that forfeited Bitcoin shall not be sold, but instead, quote, maintained as reserve assets of the United States.
It's the place to be when you're in need of amazing crypto deals and opportunities. It's got savings that you won't believe, like money off those pesky trading fees. It's the Coin Bureau deals page. Sign up bonuses and discounts too. The Coin Bureau deals page. We put these deals together just for you, just for you.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was even more blunt, stating on Fox Business, quote, "We're not going to be buying that, but we are going to use confiscated assets and continue to build that up. We're going to stop selling that." They are building a national treasury of Bitcoin, funded entirely by criminals. And this $15 billion seizure is the single largest deposit into that reserve in history. Now, this creates two very different potential futures for Bitcoin. First, the bull case. Why this could be the most powerful legitimizing event in Bitcoin's history. Number one, validation. The United States is now treating Bitcoin like digital gold, It's not just some speculative asset anymore. It's a strategic reserve asset held by the world's largest economy. As Nick Carter from Castle Island Ventures said, this quote ratifies the asset as a global asset of consequence. Number 2, a massive supply shock. Think about it. One of the largest holders in the world just flipped from being a seller to a permanent hodler. 325,000 coins are now effectively taken out of liquid circulation and locked away in a digital Fort Knox. This creates an enormous perceived price floor. The market knows this massive stack isn't going to be dumped overnight. Number 3, the start of nation-state FOMO. When the US makes a move like this, other countries pay attention. A recent report from the Bitcoin Policy Institute shows 27 countries already have some exposure to Bitcoin. This move could trigger a global digital gold rush as other nations scramble to build their own reserves so that they don't get left behind. But there is another, much darker way to look at this, which is the bear case, the ultimate centralization risk. Number 1 is the concentration of power. Bitcoin was created to be decentralized. No single person, company, or government should have too much control. Yet now, a single government holds 1.55% of the total supply. As Bitcoin advocate Jameson Lopp warned, this runs the risk of, quote, recreating a highly centralized system. Number 2, the sword of Damocles. Policies can change. The current administration is pro-Bitcoin, but what if the next one isn't? What if, in a few years, an administration hostile to crypto decides to liquidate this $36 billion stash to crash the market or fund some program or another? That massive holding becomes a weapon, constant overhang of fear. We saw a small preview of this when Germany sold around 50,000 BTC in 2024, a move that temporarily dragged the market down. Now imagine 6 times that amount. Number 3 is the risk of control. This is the nightmare scenario. The US now has the largest Bitcoin stack and controls an estimated 75% of the global mining hash rate. Could a future government attempt to leverage both of these to censor transactions or manipulate the network? It's a long shot, but it's a risk that didn't exist yesterday. So, we have 2 powerful forces at play: unprecedented legitimacy versus unprecedented centralization. But what does this actually mean for you and for your Bitcoin? Well, right now, in October 2025, the government's official policy is to hold. As long as that remains true, the bull case is in the driver's seat. This is a massive supply shock and a signal of legitimacy to institutions worldwide. The bear case is a longer-term political risk that every holder now needs to be aware of. So here are 3 things to consider in this new reality. 1. Self-custody is no longer optional. It's essential. The phrase, not your keys, not your coins, has never been more important. This event proves that assets held on exchanges or by third parties can be seized. The only Bitcoin that is truly yours is the Bitcoin for which you control the private keys. 2. Reevaluate Bitcoin's role in your portfolio. This isn't financial advice, but look at the signals. When the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock, suggests a 2% allocation and the US government starts treating Bitcoin like gold, it's no longer a fringe speculative bet. It's a legitimate macro asset that deserves consideration in a diversified portfolio. 3. The game has changed. Bitcoin's price is no longer just about halving cycles and market sentiment. It's now about geopolitics. Watching for changes in US policy, like the proposed Bitcoin Act in Congress, is just as important as watching the charts. The US government may have just seized $15 billion in Bitcoin, but the real story is that they may have just seized the narrative, positioning Bitcoin not as a criminal's tool, but as a king's ransom. And that changes everything. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you are going to love our update on the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve from earlier. That video is right over here. If you are not subscribed to the channel yet, you can do so right over here. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Lewis, signing off.